This, we're here with the people from Codestream, and they're going to demo how to review GitLab merge requests inside your editor. Thanks for that, Peter. The floor is yours.
Great, thanks, Sid. So I'm going to be demoing first with VS Code, and then we'll quickly look at JetBrains editor. The functionality works identically across both. In fact, all 14 editors that we support. Here I've authenticated with both GitLab Cloud, so gitlab.com, but also I've authenticated with a self-managed GitLab instance, and you can see I've got a list of MRs from both services. You can authenticate with as many backend services as you want, and we'll just show you the MRs in various categories in this sort of convenient tree view, so you can collapse and expand. If you want to set up new queries, in addition to the ones that we come baked by default, which are assigned to you and created by you, you can go ahead and do that and add additional queries. So the goal here is so that you've got one place to look for all the MRs that are important to your workflow. So once you have those MRs, that MR list opened up in your editor, you can go ahead and click on one, and it'll load an experience that should be pretty familiar to GitLab users. This is, of course, a resizable pane, and so you can give it a little bit more room if you'd like.
That looks familiar indeed.
Yeah, yeah. And great job on the UI, by the way. We've tried to take very few liberties in trying to improve it very slightly here and there.
That's fine. I think it's all of the front-end code is MIT licensed as far as I'm aware.
Okay. We're not reusing any of that code. We're just connecting directly to the API server via both the GraphQL and the REST APIs in order to get the data that's needed to present the MR.
Cool.
One of the things that we wanted to do is, because of the fact that in your editor, you probably have less space to work with. So we've got a responsive interface here that sort of collapses labels and things like that. We've also, this sidebar, we've taken advantage of sort of sliding over the content when you need to see the details, or collapsing the sidebar. But the goal here is to have 110% of what's available on gitlab.com, and 100% because we want to provide every feature that's available on GitLab right within your IDE. And the extra 10% is because we're running locally in your IDE and have access to the local file system. We can do things like when you check out to the branch, it can really check out to the branch, right? You can do a git checkout or git branch and git checkout and then to the branch name, and we do that for you. Mm-hmm. And then you can run a build and do debugging. The other important thing that we can do is that when you're visualizing the changes, we're all familiar with this view, which we sort of call Diff Hunks view, because it sort of shows a stacked list of Diff Hunks. And here you can add one comment, or you can start a review, just like you can in GitLab. But in addition to the Diff Hunks view, we can take advantage of the editor's diff view. So you can do a side-by-side diff or a stacked diff, in which case, in order to add a comment, you just select the region you want to comment on and hit a button or hit a keystroke.
Nice.
In order to add the comments that way. So a lot of customers and users prefer, leveraging the in-editor diff tool because they've got key bindings set up, or things like jump to definition will work natively because it's got your own code intelligence running via LSP, and so all of those advanced features are available right within your editor. It also we support pipelines, although this MR doesn't have pipelines visible, and you can again do anything that you can do on gitlab.com, including adding comments, starting a thread. All very familiar. Merge the code in, open, close, edit the MR. So very familiar interface, all the capabilities that you would expect, and then be able to also do that all within your IDE. So that's the really quick display in VS Code. And let me just show you just how similar it is by switching over to WebStorm And so here we've got the same MR open in WebStorm, and you can see it's exactly the same user experience. You can click over to the changes and look at the diffs and view them within JetBrains as well. And again, you have all the functionality that you're used to expect, like time tracking, set the milestone, assigning these, and all of those things that you love about GitLab MRs.
Awesome. Well, great work replicating all that functionality, and great solution for people who want to stay in their IDE while they're working on an MR. Kay, anything from you?
No, it looks good. I see a few brand new features missing, but otherwise it looks good.
Okay.
I wasn't even aware we had start thread, so I see some features that I'm seeing for the first time.
All right. Great. So this is part of a larger collaboration suite within Codestream. So the MR, as I mentioned, was our most requested feature, but and that's great for discussing the coding changes that are within MRs. But I'll just take a couple of seconds to show you a couple of other features that come with Codestream. One is we support issues. So you can see a list of all the issues that are assigned to you from GitLab. We also support 14 different issue trackers. So if your team uses GitLab as your code host, but you've got your tickets over on Jira, for example, you can have one user interface in order to see all of your Jira tickets within your IDE and interact on them. Of course, if you're smart, you've probably got your GitLab issues as your workflow. And what we do here is we help you get started working on a ticket by offering to create a branch if you'd like. And this is based on a configurable template that you can set up for your team so that everybody on the team has consistent branch naming. And we can even update your status on Slack to let your teammates know that you're working on that ticket if you'd like. So this is just meant as a convenience feature for your workflow. And that's another part of the GitLab integration. And then we also have the ability to create issues. So for example, if I see a real problem in the code, like I know that this GitLab branch interface is wrong, I can file a bug against that or create an issue directly from my editor, and Codestream will capture all the context. So what repo this came from, the path to the file, the code block itself, and I can create that within the project on GitLab and even assign it to one of my teammates directly from my IDE. So this allows you to raise issues about code. And then finally, and most generally, Codestream allows you to just comment on code. So this isn't really GitLab specific. This is a Codestream specific feature. But if you just want to ask a question about code, so let's say I'm looking at code within my editor and I want to ask my teammates, hey, how does this work? Or why does this say GitLab or whatever it is? I can just click on the comment icon. And here I'm not talking about an MR or a specific change. I'm talking about the code base itself. So I'm not restricted to a particular commit or a particular version. I'm just talking about this code. So I can say, Marcelo, how does this work? Or why is this returning null, or whatever my question is. And because Codestream has a good integration with other collaboration tools such as Slack and Microsoft Teams, I can even share that in a Slack channel and my teammate can reply directly from Slack. And this leaves behind an artifact that allows people to see, hey, there was a common thread attached to this block of code. Let me see what that was. So eventually when you get the answer, you can resolve the thread with a comment, and then everybody will know what the answer is to that question. And that gets retained as a piece of institutional knowledge for the entire team to benefit from. And that even survives merges as your code evolves over time.
Very cool.
So that's the demo. Any feedback or questions? And Kai, I'm curious, what are the new features that we're missing?
You're missing reviewers is the
yes.
thing.
So we don't have that. I'm actually connected to a backend that doesn't support reviewers because we've got, but we do have, if you connect to, so this is our
Oh, cool. So you have that. It's just that the license of the GitLab server you're using doesn't support it.
Right, because GitLab added that, as far as I remember, if I'm getting the dates right, in October of last year. And so we're pointing at one of our GitLab instances. This is a GitLab self-managed instance. And this instance has a version of GitLab that's older than October. So it doesn't have backend support for reviewers. But for newer, if you're going out to the cloud, for example, you'd see the reviewers and you'd be able to use that.
I'm really impressed by how comprehensive your mirroring of the features is. It's really great work.
Thank you.
Kai,
Yeah,
anything from you?
We've got a few beta customers testing it, and I can't tell you, especially for JetBrains users, the enthusiasm for being able to interact with GitLab inside of their IDE, the enthusiasm is off the charts. So we're very pleased at the early reception. Even though we're in beta, I think it's going to be a product that customers really love.
Amazing. Kai, any closing words?
No, it looks good. You've done a great job putting everything together that for code review. So it's exciting to see where you are from where we talked, several months ago.
Right.